Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel, where today we are going to be discussing my August TBR, or all the books that I plan to read in the month of August. August is going to be a strange month, so I have not been loving my goals as of late, but I do think that the goals that I chose were important to complete out. So basically, I'm just going to try to rush and get through all of them within the next couple of months. Now, because of that, I have a whole stack of books, a really large list of books to choose from. And so I just thought for this particular TBR, I would just show you the possibilities. Because the reality is, I know that when I get into next month, I'm just not entirely certain what I'm going to be picking out for myself. I just know that I'm going to be pulling from this particular list of, I think, 20 books, maybe a little bit less. So I'll just let you know all of them. So we're going to start with the one thing I do know that I'm going to read, and that is Walk on Earth, a Stranger by Rae Carson, the first book in the Gold Seer trilogy. So this is a young adult historical fantasy that is set in like the West, Old West, and with magic. And our main character can sense gold, and I think tragedy happens and she has to go from where she is more on the eastern side of the United States and move west. I know that I'm going to read this in August because Julie and I are buddy reading this. So this is actually a reread for me, but I believe it's the first time that Julie is going to read it. So it will be very interesting. I thought that this was pretty good when I first read it, but not as good as the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy, which is Rae Carson's other series. So I'm very intrigued to see what I think upon reread. Now, this is something that I wanted to reread for this year to determine if I still liked it and if it belonged on my shelves. That was one of my goals. And so I actually have the rest of the trilogy as well. So it's Like a River Glorious and Into the Bright Unknown. And I don't know if I'm going to get to these in August because it's going to depend on like how long it takes us to get through, Julie and I, to get through the first book, and if she wants to read the rest of the trilogy with me, and what, if so, like, what's the timing that she's looking at. And but if not, I'll probably like just roll through the rest of the trilogy in August. And then I have a bunch of books from my excited for lists, and the first one is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This is an adult science fiction standalone, and our main character is an alternate dimension traveler, and she is like really well suited to traveling because one of the only rules about dimensional travel is that your alternate in the other dimension has to already be dead before you can travel there, and our main character is dead in almost all of the dimensions that she was born in. But one of her alternates ends up dying under kind of mysterious circumstances, and she suspects foul play, so she kind of has to get to the bottom of that before anybody else dies. Very interested in this one. And then we have Goddess in the Machine by Lora Beth Johnson. And this is a young adult science fiction, the first in a duology. And essentially our main character was put into a cryogenic sleep and was supposed to be woken up after 100 years, but isn't woken up until after 1,000 years have passed. So now she has to navigate this completely different world and figure out what is going on when everybody around of her thinks that she's an actual goddess, and there are people in the city who have power who want to use her to their advantage, and she just needs to figure out what's going on. So yeah, the story goes from there. Again, very interested. And then I have Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and this is, I thought it was a fantasy, but I think it might be more speculative fiction, although I'm not gonna lie, like I really don't know the line between those two things. But it is adult and it is a standalone, and essentially there's this library that has books that show you what your life could have been if you had made different choices, and our main character is just essentially going to this library and looking at all of that. I know that there's a ton of content warnings, especially for self-harm and suicidal ideation. So, just so you know. So now I don't I didn't know about the content warnings when I first heard about this book, and so now I'm not sure how this one is going to go, but I'm still at least going to give it a shot. And then we have Educated by Tara Westover, and this is an adult nonfiction title. And Tara Westover grew up out in the Hicks, and her family was very insular, very much homeschool, and taught her and her siblings very interesting, not generally correct history and like how the world works kind of thing. Tara Westover ended up breaking away from her family and going out into like the real world, and now she has to, and then she had to figure out what was like real and what wasn't, and educate herself. And so this is, I think, a memoir of that time. Very interesting. And then the last one for this particular section is Strangelove by Aguirre, and this is an adult romance. And our heroine, I don't remember. I think she just needs to get off planet, so she decides to put her name into this alien mate lottery thing. And our hero, I don't know if it's a hero because it's an alien and I don't know how gender works with them. But the partner, love interest, is somebody who is doing this lottery thing where they're hoping to be matched up with a mate, and they're very stressed out because it's like the last time that they can enter this to get a mate. And I'm not entirely certain anything more about this story. I have heard that it is a little strange, but I mean, it's called Strangelove, so I can't say that's like unexpected, right? So we're going to see how this one goes. And then after that, we have all the books that are on my Goodreads 24 list, which is the oldest 24 books from my Goodreads TBR shelf. And I only have 4 remaining. So the first one is The Brides of Rollrock Island by Margo Lanagan. And this is, I don't remember. This is one where I can never remember quite exactly what it is, but I believe it's like these women kind of come from the sea and then marry into the village and like make a life, but you're not allowed to keep brides from the sea, and so tragedy starts occurring in this village, if I remember correctly. So this, I believe, is YA and tragic and very folktale-esque from what I understand, and I'm just kind of really, really looking forward to it. And then we have The Princess at the Midnight Ball by Jessica Day George, and I believe this is a young adult retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. And then we have NPCs by Drew Hayes, and this is an adult fantasy, and essentially we're following this group, which a group of NPCs, non-player characters. And so they're the people that are just generally in the background of a video game, right? That you talk to, but aren't like, they give you the information you need, but that's like their sole purpose in the game. Well, these NPCs, something happens to the player character and the player character like dies. And so these NPCs end up grouping together to take over the player character's mission so that they don't get killed. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And then the last one is Mechanique by Genevieve Valentine. And this is a young adult fantasy, steampunk, historical, something. Nobody can seem to agree on what exactly this is. But it's about a circus and like steampunk, and I'm not entirely certain, honestly. Like, I read the description, and it was a little bit convoluted. So we'll see how that goes. And then I have the group of books that are the ones that have been on my TBR shelf for the longest, essentially. And so we have Alien Echo by Mira Grant, and this is a young adult horror that is an Alien franchise tie-in novel, which is fun because I've never actually seen the Alien movies, but I love Mira Grant, so I thought I'd pick it up anyway. But that's all I know about it. Like, literally, I was just like, oh, it's a Mira Grant novel, I'll probably like it, and I picked it up. This is one that I might actually push out into September to get it closer to spooky season, but we shall see. And then we have Old Man's War by John Scalzi, and this is an adult science fiction, the first in a series. And essentially our main character is an old man, and he decides that he's going to join up with the army. Now the army is very special in that you can only join if you're old, because they want all the wisdom and knowledge that age provides. But if you join up, they help you. I don't know if it's they give you a new body or if they like just fix up your old body, so it's basically the body of a young man, but you then serve your 2 years and then you can get out with a plot of land somewhere. And I don't know, like obviously we're just following this guy as he does his 2-year stint. I am a little concerned about this. I am very hit or miss on John Scalzi, so I don't know how this one is going to go. And then we have Dorothy Must Die and the Wicked Will Rise by Danielle Paige. And this is a young adult fantasy series that's a take looking at Oz. Essentially, our main character goes back to Oz, and instead of Dorothy being this benevolent ruler of Oz, she is not good. And so our main character decides that Dorothy must die. And it's a quartet. So I have the first 2 books. I have read the first one, but I don't remember enough about it to feel comfortable moving into the second one. So I'm going to need to reread it. So yeah, that's why both of these are on my list. And then so that's everything for my goals. And then there's an additional 3 books I wanted to talk about. And the first 2 are things that I have on hold for my library. The first is Mr. Kiss and Tell by Robb Thomas and Jennifer Graham. And this is the second book in the Veronica Mars tie-in novel series. And honestly, like, I don't know a ton about the actual story of this. I think that there's a woman who makes accusations of sexual assault against somebody. But it's like months after, and so it's just a ticking time bomb. So not the police, but the hotel where this was supposedly happened asks Veronica to look into it, I believe is what the story is about. I read the first one. It was a decent murder mystery. It was really fun to see everybody from the Veronica Mars TV show, and so I figured I would read the second one to finish out the series and just be done. And then the other thing I have on hold is Glory and Death by J.D. Robb, and this is the second book in the In Death series. And so in the In Death series, it's a murder mystery series, and we're following our main character of Eve, who is a homicide detective. Each book there is some kind of murder, and obviously, and then there's like interpersonal relationship stuff happening in the background. I don't remember at all what this book is about other than there's a murder. That's like, it's one of those things where honestly you kind of don't need to know. You know it's part of the murder mystery series. So I enjoyed the first book well enough, so I am going to continue on with this series. And then the last book I wanted to mention is The Silvered Serpents by Roshani Chokshi. This is the second book in the Gilded Wolves series. And so this is a series where we're following a group of I want to say thieves, but it's not really quite a heist story in like Six of Crows, Ocean's 11 heist. This is more Indiana Jones, kind of solve the puzzles, solve the riddles, figure out, you know, where the thing is hidden kind of heist. And so there's not much I can give about this one because it does spoil the first one a little bit. But I am very interested in this one. I really did enjoy the first one, and I would like to read it in August before the third one comes out in September. So that's it. That's all 20-ish, I think 19 books that I might read in August. I probably will get through a good chunk of them because the reality is I'm going to DNF some of these books. I don't know which ones. I don't know how many, but if history holds true, I will be DNFing a chunk of them, and so I should be getting through a larger number of these books in August. But like I said, I just don't know exactly how many, and especially the ones that aren't really on my goals list. I threw those in because I know that if I get to a point where I am DNFing a lot of books, I'll probably read one of those so that I I have something that I know is good, or at least is much more likely to be good, so that I can kind of get my reading back on track. But that is it. That's everything that I might read in the month of August. Let me know down below if you have any plans for August, or what you think of all the books that I have left to read for my goals. But that is it. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And until next time, have happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!